Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you love captivating stories about men transforming into women in unique and fascinating ways, then be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let's jump right into today's tale.
Chapter 5, New Sensations. The next morning, Naruto woke to sunlight streaming through Sakura's bedroom window, except it wasn't his bedroom, and definitely not his body. The soft pink curtains diffused the dawn light into a rosy glow that illuminated unfamiliar surroundings. Neat shelves of medical texts, pressed flowers framed on the wall, and a collection of kunai polished to mirror shine. For a disorienting second, he reached to scratch his chest as he always did upon waking, and froze, hand landing on something soft and unfamiliar that definitely hadn't been there 2 days ago. His fingers brushed against the gentle curve of a breast, the sensation so foreign that his breath caught. The weight of them on his chest, the surprising sensitivity of skin that responded to even the lightest touch. It was like his entire torso had been replaced with an alien landscape of new nerves and curves. He groaned, flopping back against pillows that smelled of cherry blossoms and antiseptic. Not a dream, huh? From the kitchen, Sakura's voice floated in, chipper and smug. Nope, you're all me all day. Hurry up, Saruto, breakfast isn't going to eat itself, and neither is your dignity. Naruto rolled over, burying his face in the pillow with a muffled groan. Everything felt wrong. The way his hips pressed into the mattress, wider and curvier than his own, the soft strands of pink hair tickling his shoulders and neck, the absence of certain mourning. Situations he'd grown accustomed to dealing with. Instead, there was a different kind of awareness in his body, a sort of hollow ache low in his abdomen that he couldn't quite identify. With reluctance, he swung his legs over the side of the bed, momentarily startled by how they looked, slender, smooth, and distinctly feminine. His gaze traveled up to the gentle curve of hips, the dip of waist, and then to the soft swell of breasts visible through the thin fabric of the borrowed nightgown. He'd transformed into women countless times with his jutsu, but this was entirely different. Not an illusion or temporary transformation, but a complete physical reality with all the sensations and subtleties his crude jutsu had never captured. Naruto stumbled out of the bedroom, wrapped in a fluffy pink robe he'd hastily thrown on, hair a tangled mess of pink strands that seemed determined to go in every direction except the one he wanted. He blinked blearily in the kitchen light, squinting at Sakura, who was already dressed in her usual red kippao, hair neatly styled, sipping tea and scrolling through a patient chart with clinical focus. How are you so? Put together already? He grumbled, voice still sleep-rough but pitched higher than his normal baritone. It's barely dawn. Sakura glanced up, smirking at his disheveled appearance. Some of us have actual jobs and responsibilities. Besides, it takes time to look this good. Time you clearly haven't figured out how to manage yet. He eyed the breakfast table, taking in the spread. Fresh fruit, yogurt, some kind of grain he didn't recognize, and a conspicuous absence of anything remotely resembling ramen or bacon. Do you always eat this healthy? Where's the good stuff? Sakura snorted, flipping a page in her chart without looking up. You want to keep that figure, don't you? Besides, if you eat ramen for breakfast, I'll know. My body will reject it like a failed organ transplant, and I'll be the one dealing with the digestive consequences once we fix this mess. Your body doesn't know what it's missing, Naruto muttered, sliding into a chair at the small kitchen table. He winced as the robe slipped off one shoulder, shoulders that felt narrower, more delicate than his own, lacking the broad musculature he'd developed through years of training. I think your body is trying to make me pose sexy. Is that normal? He adjusted the robe, only for it to slide suggestively off the other shoulder. Even sitting felt different. His weight distributed differently across narrower hips, thighs pressing together in a way his male form never had. She grinned, setting down her chart to give him her full attention. All kunoichi are born with it. You just have to learn to weaponize it. Her eyes gleamed with mischief. Why do you think the academy has specialized classes for female shinobi? It's not just about compensating for different muscle mass, it's about using every advantage. Naruto muttered, stabbing a piece of melon with unnecessary force. I'm gonna weaponize something, all right. The fruit skidded across his plate, leaving a trail of juice. Maybe I'll set your closet on fire, or tell everyone you sleep with a stuffed slug that looks suspiciously like Tsunade Bachan. You wouldn't dare, Sakura warned, but there was humor in her eyes. Besides, it was a gift from Shizyun, very tasteful. He poked at another piece of fruit, still pouting with lips that felt fuller, more expressive somehow. You know, I keep getting these weird feelings, like I want to wear perfume or try on cute underwear, or, I dunno, check out my own butt. He paused, then added with a waggle of eyebrows that felt distinctly wrong on Sakura's face, which is, by the way, really nice. I mean, I always knew you were hot, Sakura-chan, but experiencing it from the inside is a whole other level. Sakura blushed, a flicker of embarrassment crossing her features before she masked it with a snicker. Told you, you're getting the full female experience, hormones, instincts, muscle memory, the works. You're lucky I'm helping you. Imagine if Ino was your guide. Naruto shuddered, the sensation rippling through his borrowed form in ways that made him acutely aware of parts of anatomy he'd never had to consider before. She'd have me in lace in 5 minutes. Only 5? Sakura teased, sipping her tea with delicate precision. She must be losing her touch. Last time she got hold of Tenten after a mission, it was 3 minutes flat before she'd talked her into that backless dress that made Neji walk into a wall. Poor Neji, Naruto grinned, then sobered. Seriously though, Sakura-chan, how do you deal with? You know, he gestured vaguely at his chest. They're just there all the time, moving when I move, getting in the way when I try to cross my arms, and don't even get me started on what happens when I run. Sakura's expression softened with something like sympathetic amusement. Proper support helps, which reminds me there's a clean bra on the dresser that you should be wearing. And no, it's not optional. But it's uncomfortable, Naruto whined, sounding remarkably like his regular self despite the feminine pitch. It's like wrapping my chest in wire. Why would anyone? Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Naruto startled, nearly spilling his tea, the liquid sloshing dangerously close to the edge of the delicate cup. Sakura's eyes widened, a flash of panic crossing her usually composed features. That's Sasuke, she whispered urgently. He said he'd walk me to the hospital today, something about making up for missing lunch yesterday. She smoothed her hair, a reflexive gesture that betrayed her nerves. I forgot to tell you. Naruto panicked, clutching the robe more tightly around himself. What do I do? I'm not dressed, I haven't even brushed my teeth, and my hair. Just act natural, Sakura hissed, rising from the table with forced casualness. And don't flirt unless you want eternal blackmail. Remember, you're supposed to be my cousin, not a shameless hussy trying to land a date. Naruto glared, the expression feeling different on features more accustomed to Sakura's controlled displeasure than his own exaggerated outrage. I do not flirt. That's your chakra talking. Your body has, like, a homing beacon for brooding jerks with good hair. Keep your voice down, Sakura warned as she moved toward the door. And for God's sake, close that robe properly before you give him a show he definitely doesn't need. Naruto hastily adjusted the pink fabric, acutely aware of how it clung to curves he was still getting used to navigating. The soft material brushed against skin that felt more sensitive than his own had ever been, sending small shivers across nerve endings that seemed to be wired differently in this form. But when Sasuke entered, cool, impassive, but with a flicker of something warmer in his eyes when they landed on Sakura, Naruto's heart did something unexpected. It skipped, then raced, blood rushing to his cheeks in a blush he couldn't control. Great, Naruto thought with dismay. Now I'm blushing because of him. Is this what Sakura deals with all the time? No wonder she was always so weird around him when we were kids. Sasuke stood in the doorway like he belonged there, one shoulder casually propped against the frame, dressed in his usual dark attire, but without the traveling cloak. His hair was slightly damp, as if he'd just showered, and the scent of pine and something distinctly masculine drifted into the kitchen. His eyes, sharp as ever, moved from Sakura to Naruto, lingering with unsettling intensity. Morning, Saruto, did you sleep well? The question was casual, but there was something in his tone, a slight emphasis, perhaps, that made it feel like he was asking something else entirely. Naruto nodded, trying to look demure but probably achieving something closer to constipated, if Sakura's subtle wince was any indication. Mostly, he managed, his voice higher and softer than intended. Sakura snores. I do not, Sakura exclaimed, genuine indignation coloring her cheeks. Like a chainsaw, Naruto continued, warming to the subject. And she talks in her sleep, something about medical procedures and, he wiggled his eyebrows meaningfully, someone whose name starts with S. Sakura rolled her eyes, the gesture so exaggerated it looked like it hurt. Only when I'm forced to share a room with a disaster who steals all the blankets and drools on my pillows. Sasuke's lips twitched, a microscopic movement that nonetheless represented significant amusement by Uchiha standards. You must be adjusting to the village then, he observed dryly. Most people here snore, especially after missions, or after drinking with Tsunade-sama. Naruto giggled, the sound so foreign and feminine it shocked him into clapping a hand over his mouth. Since when did he giggle? Was that even physically possible with his normal vocal cords? Sasuke's eyes crinkled in amusement, the subtle expression more animated than Naruto was used to seeing from his normally stoic friend. You two really are related, he noted, gaze traveling between them with analytical precision. Same mannerisms, same temper. Same forehead, Naruto added without thinking, then winced as Sakura's elbow connected with his ribs with medical precision, just enough force to hurt without leaving a mark. Saruto needs to get dressed, Sakura announced, all professional efficiency. Then we can head to the hospital. I'm expecting a busy day with the Chunin exam preliminaries starting tomorrow. I'll wait, Sasuke replied, settling into a kitchen chair with the easy confidence of someone who knew they wouldn't be refused. His gaze lingered on Naruto for a moment longer, something like curiosity flickering in those dark eyes. Take your time. 15 minutes of frantic scrambling later, Naruto emerged from the bedroom dressed in an outfit Sakura had selected. A modest red top similar to her usual style, but with slightly longer sleeves, paired with black leggings and the standard shinobi sandals. His hair had been hastily brushed into submission, falling in a pink curtain that felt alien against his neck and shoulders. Every movement brought new awareness, fabric sliding differently across skin, weight distributed in unfamiliar patterns, the strange absence between his legs paired with the novel presence on his chest. As they walked to the hospital, Naruto was acutely aware of every glance from passersby, every whispered comment. The rumor mill of Konoha was working overtime, snippets of conversation drifting to his now sensitive ears. Did you see Sakura's twin, the one with the blue eyes? She's pretty but a little weird, walks like she's not used to her own legs. I hear she's got Suna blood, maybe that's why she's so exotic. You think she's single. My cousin's looking for a date for the festival. Naruto tried to ignore it, but it was impossible not to notice how men's eyes lingered on him as he passed, gazes tracking the curve of his borrowed hips or the sway of hair he hadn't mastered controlling. Even more disconcerting was how women sized him up with a mixture of curiosity and competition, assessing everything from his clothes to his proximity to Sasuke. Sakura, walking beside him, seemed to sense his discomfort. She elbowed him gently, murmuring under her breath, "Don't let it get to you, just walk like you own the place. Confidence is half the battle." I do own the place, Naruto muttered back. I mean, I will when I'm Hokage. He stopped mid-sentence, realizing his slip, eyes widening in panic. Sasuke, walking slightly ahead, glanced back, one elegant eyebrow raised in question. Ambitious, aren't you? Planning to overthrow Tsunade already? You've only been in the village for a day. Naruto fumbled, mind racing for an explanation that wouldn't sound completely ridiculous. I mean, I want to be the best at whatever I do, even being a guest. He forced a laugh that sounded strained even to his own ears. Sakura was telling me about the Hokage position. Sounds stressful. Sasuke hummed noncommittal, but his eyes lingered on Naruto's face a beat too long. The role requires certain qualities: strength, leadership, wisdom. A pause, significant, but also the ability to connect with people, to understand them. His lips curved in the ghost of a smile. I look forward to seeing if you possess those qualities, Saruto. The way he said the name, with just the slightest emphasis, as if testing how it felt on his tongue, sent an unexpected shiver down Naruto's spine. The sensation was entirely different from anything he'd experienced in his male body. less localized, more diffuse, spreading like warm honey through his veins. "Are you cold?" Sakura asked, noticing his reaction. "I have an extra jacket in my office." "I'm fine," Naruto insisted, though he wasn't entirely sure that was true. This body responded to stimuli in ways he couldn't predict or control, from the flush of heat when Sasuke's gaze lingered too long to the strange flutter in his stomach when their hands accidentally brushed while navigating a crowded street corner. At the hospital, things only got weirder. Barely 10 minutes after arriving, while Sakura was occupied with a patient consult, Ino cornered Saruto in the hallway, blue eyes twinkling with the particular brand of mischief that had spelled trouble since their academy days. "So, Saruto," she began, leaning casually against the wall with practiced elegance, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "What's your type? I noticed you checking out the brooding wonder as we walked in." She nodded subtly toward where Sasuke stood at the reception desk, filling out some kind of form with his usual efficient precision. Naruto blinked, caught off guard by the direct question. "My type," he repeated stupidly, then spoke without thinking, a lifelong habit that had followed him into this new form. "Tall, dark, and broody, wait no, I mean, he backpedaled desperately, realizing he'd essentially described Sasuke to a T. "I mean, actually I like blondes with whiskers and ramen addiction." Ino's perfectly shaped eyebrows shot up, her expression morphing from curiosity to fascinated delight. "Interesting," she drawled, the word laden with unspoken implications. "Very specific taste, though I can't say I blame you for the first answer." She leaned in closer, the scent of her floral perfume enveloping Naruto in a cloud of jasmine and secrets. "Don't worry. Sasuke's always been a sucker for mysterious girls with complicated backgrounds. If you want a shot, you'll have to step up your game. He's immune to the usual tactics." "I don't want a shot," Naruto protested, voice rising before he hastily lowered it, aware of curious glances from passing nurses. "I'm not interested in Sasuke. At all, zero interest. Not even a tiny bit." "Your blush says otherwise," Ino observed with the merciless accuracy that made her both a terrifying interrogator and an exhausting friend. "But don't worry, your secret's safe with me." She winked, the gesture somehow more threatening than reassuring. "For now." Before Naruto could formulate a response that wouldn't dig him deeper into this conversational pit, a group of young nurses, clearly having overheard at least part of the exchange, swarmed around, faces bright with curiosity and the desperate hunger for fresh gossip in a village where shinobi business often overshadowed social intrigue. "Are you really Sakura's cousin?" asked a petite brunette, eyes wide. "You look just like her, except for the eyes." "Do you have a boyfriend?" chimed in another, this one with short black hair and an appraising gaze that made Naruto feel like he was being mentally undressed. "Or a girlfriend? We don't judge in Konoha." "Is it true you're a sand shinobi?" asked a third, leaning in so close that Naruto could count her eyelashes. "Can you do those cool desert jutsu, the ones with the glass?" "What's Suna fashion like?" demanded another, eyeing his borrowed outfit with critical assessment. "Is everyone there as stylish as you? Can you teach us that hair flip thing you did earlier? When you were talking to Sasuke-san, it was so elegant." Naruto, overwhelmed by the barrage of questions and the press of bodies in his personal space, tried to channel Sakura's poise and self-assurance. He straightened his shoulders, summoned a smile that he hoped looked confident rather than terrified, tossed his hair in what he hoped was a casual gesture rather than a spasmodic neck twitch, and answered as vaguely as possible. "Fashion in Suna is sandy and practical because of the sand," he nodded sagely as if imparting profound wisdom. "And I'm single, very single, extremely available. I mean not available, just unattached, professionally speaking." Every answer, no matter how nonsensical, only seemed to make him more popular, the nurses hanging on his every word with the rapt attention usually reserved for Tsunade's rare teaching seminars or particularly juicy hospital scandals. "You're so exotic," sighed one, gazing at him with undisguised admiration. "And mysterious. I bet you have all kinds of adventures in Suna." "Oh, absolutely," Naruto agreed, warming to the role now that panic had given way to a weird kind of enjoyment. "Lots of desert things, sand bandits, cactus festivals, very exciting." He leaned in, lowering his voice. Once I had to rescue the Kazekige's pet scorpion from a sandstorm. Very hush-hush mission. Can't talk details. So brave, breathed the brunette, eyes shining with admiration. And modest, added another with a giggle, just like Sakura. The conversation descended into increasingly absurd territory, with Naruto inventing wilder and wilder tales of his fictional life in Suna, while the nurses soaked up every word like parched desert soil. He found himself oddly enjoying the attention, so different from the wary respect or hero worship he usually received as himself. This was a lighter kind of interest, focused on him as a person rather than a Jinchuriki or war hero. By midday, the social demands had become overwhelming. Naruto retreated to what he thought was an empty storage closet, only to find himself face-to-face with a startled Mednin organizing bandages. After hastily backing out and trying 2 more doors, he finally found sanctuary in a small supply room filled with pillows and blankets for the overnight wards. That's where Sakura found him an hour later, sitting cross-legged amidst a nest of hospital pillows, clutching one protectively to his chest like a shield. He looked up as the door opened, expression pathetically grateful. "Help," he pleaded, voice cracking slightly. "I'm being hunted by nurses with questions and patients who want my number, and I think one of the janitors tried to ask me out while I was hiding in the mop closet." Sakura leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a smile of pure schadenfreude lighting her features. "Welcome to my world," she replied, not bothering to hide her amusement. Now imagine dealing with that every day, plus actual life-or-death medical emergencies, while maintaining perfect chakra control. She stepped into the closet, closing the door behind her and sitting gracefully on a stack of folded blankets. "You survive 1 more hour, and I'll let you pick whatever you want from my closet for dinner tonight. We're supposed to meet Sasuke at that new barbecue place. Apparently he's buying." Naruto brightened at the mention of food, then caught himself, forcing his expression into one of studied indifference. "I don't care about your clothes," he protested, though a treacherous part of his mind was already cataloging options. There was that blue dress he'd spotted in the back of her closet, the one with the interesting neckline. Sakura just smirked, seeing right through him with the ease of someone who'd known him since childhood. "Right. That's why you're hugging my pillow like it's a lifeline, and you've spent the last 20 minutes in here practicing different ways to flip your hair." She nodded toward a small mirror propped against the wall that Naruto had indeed been using to experiment with various expressions and gestures. "It's research," he muttered defensively. "Know your enemy and all that." "Uh-huh," Sakura replied, clearly unconvinced. "And I suppose the lipstick you've apparently tried on is also research." Naruto's hand flew to his mouth, where a smudge of pale pink color had indeed been applied with inexpert precision. "It was in your pocket, I was bored, and it smelled like strawberries." Before Sakura could respond with what promised to be a devastating comeback, a shadow fell across the small window in the supply closet door. A moment later, there was a soft knock, and Sasuke's low voice filtered through the wood. "Sakura, Saruto, I know you're in there. The nurses said you were hiding from your fan club." Naruto's eyes widened in panic, hand still pressed to his mouth. Sakura mouthed, "Wipe it off," while gesturing frantically at his lips. He scrubbed at his mouth with the back of his hand, probably smearing the color more than removing it. "Just a minute," Sakura called, voice overly bright. "We're just inventorying supplies, very important medical business." The door opened anyway, because Sasuke had never met a boundary he didn't ignore with aristocratic entitlement. He stood framed in the doorway, one eyebrow raised at the scene. Sakura perched on blankets, Naruto cross-legged on the floor surrounded by pillows, both wearing expressions of badly concealed guilt. His gaze lingered on Naruto, taking in the disheveled pink hair, the smudged lipstick, the pillow still clutched protectively to his chest. "Saruto, do you have a minute? I'd like to talk. Alone." Sakura's eyes widened, a flash of alarm crossing her features. She opened her mouth as if to protest, then closed it again, clearly torn between protecting Naruto's secret and avoiding raising Sasuke's suspicions further. Naruto's heart thumped so loud he was afraid it might actually be audible, the pulse racing in ways that felt different from his usual adrenaline spikes. Less steady, more fluttery, like butterfly wings against his ribcage. He nodded mutely, rising from his pillow nest with as much dignity as he could muster, which wasn't much considering he nearly tripped over his own feet in the process. He followed Sasuke into the empty staff lounge down the hall, acutely aware of his borrowed body's reactions. The quickened breath, the heightened color in his cheeks, the way his skin seemed to tingle with awareness of Sasuke's proximity. Was this normal? Did Sakura always feel this way around him? Or was it something unique to Naruto's consciousness occupying a female form that had its own physical memory and responses? The lounge was mercifully deserted, afternoon sunlight streaming through windows that overlooked the hospital gardens. Sasuke moved to one of these windows, leaning against the sill with casual grace, arms folded across his chest in a posture that emphasized the lean strength of his shoulders. "You're different than I expected," he began, dark eyes studying Naruto with unnerving intensity. Most visitors keep their heads down, blend in, observe before engaging. A pause, significant. "You seem comfortable here, like you already know the village, know its people." Naruto shrugged, aiming for casual but probably achieving something closer to nervous spasm. "I guess I just, like Konoha, feels like home." He tucked a strand of pink hair behind his ear, the gesture unconscious but distinctly feminine. "Sakura's told me so much about it, about everyone. It's like I already knew you all before I arrived." Sasuke's eyes softened, just a fraction. The kind of minute change that most would miss, but that Naruto, after years of friendship and rivalry, could read as clearly as a shout. "You remind me of someone." Naruto swallowed, throat suddenly dry. "Sakura," he ventured, hoping that was the safe answer. Sasuke shook his head, a faint, enigmatic smile touching his lips, the kind of genuine expression he rarely showed to anyone. "No, someone else." His gaze lingered, assessing. "Someone who never quite learned how to hide who they really are, even when they're trying." The words hung in the air between them, laden with potential meaning. Naruto stood frozen, caught between identities, uncertain whether to be flattered or terrified by the comparison. Something fluttered in his stomach, a mix of excitement, nerves, and a new, unfamiliar desire that seemed to radiate outward from his core, warming parts of his anatomy that responded in ways his male form never had. Was Sasuke seeing through the disguise? Did he know? Or was he simply drawing parallels between Saruto's behavior and Naruto's usual personality? And why did the thought of Sasuke studying him so intently send heat spiraling through his borrowed form in a way that was both alarming and not entirely unpleasant? The door creaked open before he could formulate a response, Sakura poking her head in with the timely intervention of someone who'd been eavesdropping from the hallway. "Sorry to interrupt your brooding, Sasuke," she announced, voice deliberately casual. "Saruto has a lunch date with me and some very important medical things that can't wait because of medicine." Sasuke's gaze lingered on Naruto, a hint of something that might have been amusement flickering in those dark depths. "See you later, Saruto," he said, the name carrying a subtle emphasis that sent another inexplicable shiver down Naruto's spine. "Perhaps at dinner." As they left the lounge, Sakura grabbed Naruto's hand, squeezing with gentle reassurance. Once they were safely out of earshot, she turned to him, concern evident in her green eyes. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost, or been interrogated by ANBU." Naruto nodded, caught between panic and a strange exhilaration that he couldn't quite name. "I think I'm starting to understand you, Sakura-chan," he admitted, voice soft with genuine realization. "All these years I thought you were just, I don't know, superficially crushing on him, but it's more than that, isn't it? When he looks at you, at me, like that, it's like being pinned under a microscope and wrapped in a warm blanket at the same time." He shook his head, bewildered. "But I have no idea how you survive this every day." Sakura smiled, her expression softening into something genuine and unguarded, the kind of look she rarely showed in public, where professional composure was her armor. "You get used to it," she said simply. "And you learn to enjoy the attention, or at least fake it until the real thing comes along." Her words carried a weight of experience, of years navigating the complex waters of attraction and identity in a world that sometimes seemed designed to confuse both. For a moment, they shared a look of perfect understanding, not as shinobi, not as teammates, but as people learning to navigate bodies and feelings that sometimes felt like foreign territory. Naruto grinned, a flash of his usual irrepressible spirit breaking through the confusion. He stretched, experimentally testing the muscles and reflexes of this borrowed form, finding them increasingly responsive as he grew accustomed to their different balance and strength. "Maybe I'll get the hang of this after all," he declared with renewed confidence. "And hey, at least I look good while figuring it out." Sakura rolled her eyes, but her smile remained. "Just don't get too comfortable. I want my body back eventually, you know." "No promises," Naruto teased, flipping his hair with exaggerated elegance. "I might decide I like being the pretty one for a change." But as they walked down the corridor, neither noticed the dark figure watching from the shadows of the lounge doorway. Sasuke leaned against the frame, observing their retreating forms with careful interest, a thoughtful expression on his usually impassive face. Curiosity, and something deeper, something he wasn't quite ready to name, smoldered in his eyes as he watched the pink-haired woman who moved with increasing confidence in a body that wasn't quite her own. The game had only just begun, and none of them knew how far it would go or where it might lead them. In the shifting light of the hospital corridor, something ancient and immutable was changing, not just Naruto's form, but the delicate balance between three people who had always orbited each other like planets around a complicated sun.